Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to tackle or to cover together the developments in the Rafah, in the Gaza Strip, in the Middle East, or to be accurate, regarding the Israeli genocide war, which claimed the lives of more than 37,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and wounded nearly 90,000 others, also women and children, civilians, even in the refugee camps with the UN workers, the Red Crescent workers. There is no place safe, whether in Gaza, the West Bank, or all over Palestine, the occupied territories. And there are also fears of the expansion of the conflicts with the daily exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. To shed more light on what's going on and on the latest statements released by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Ayman Mousharafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Good morning to you and the audience.
Sir, let's start, if you permit me, with some statements which were released by Prime Minister of Israel, by Netanyahu, when he said on Sunday that intense fighting in the southern Gaza city of Rafah is nearly over, more than 8 months into the devastating war. But he said this does not mean that the war itself is over, but regarding Rafah, approximately is over. How do you see these statements, sir?
Actually, the Prime Minister is playing a political game. He knows very well that the day that all the hostility will cease, his government will collapse. And he would face the Israeli public opinion, and maybe he will go to court. So it's the game. He wants to prolong the war as long as he can. So his heir and his cabinet will continue. So, I mean, the Prime Minister, since the beginning of the war, has several times said it's a matter of days, it's a matter of weeks, it's a matter of months, but all the promises that he gives failed, and his tactic is to prolong the war as much as he can.
Or these statements are coinciding with the visit of the Israeli Minister of Defense to Washington to have talks regarding the Israeli genocide war in Gaza and the fears of expanding the conflict to other parts in the Middle East. And this is to pave the way for saying that it's only the United States talks which ended with ending the Israeli genocide war in Rafah and to move to other parts of the Palestinian enclave.
The visit of Yoav Gallant, his partner in the government and his partner in the Likud party, is actually the way that he wants to push the United States to give more weapons, because Netanyahu, he was accusing the United States to have slow down the delivery of weapons and especially ammunition for the ongoing war. And even he bluntly said that the United States is not cooperating enough to help the Israelis in the war of existence in the Middle East. So I think it is another political game for the United States to deliver more weapons and ammunition to continue the war in Gaza, and maybe to expand the war in other areas. Because as I said, as long as the hostility continues and the tension in the Middle East continue, is a safe
a kind of protection to Netanyahu.
A passage to the life and a kiss of life to the government of Prime Minister Netanyahu, his coalition.
But sir, if you permit me, I'd like to speak in more details about specific features of the current phase. For example, when celebrities are putting on their official Facebook pages or social media pages in general that the real face of Israel is now revealed, that they are destroying everything because they are going to be themselves eliminated. What I'm saying is one of the statements by Mel Gibson, for example. When you find people who are all the time continuing to demonstrate all over the world against the Israeli genocide war, do you think that this is going to do something to put more pressure on Israel at a time that Israel or the Israeli occupation forces, they continued with their abnormal way of showing their aggression, for example, to tie a Palestinian man on one of their tanks and to move forward in some of the streets to show to what extent they became barbaric, and they do not fear any roar or any reaction from the international community?
First of all, let me express my gratitude to the public opinion. The public opinion has played a very prominent role, more than government, in condemning Israel daily in the streets. And most of the prominent personality, writers, journalists, which are representing the real conscience of the international community, have continued daily to condemn the Israelis. But unfortunately, all those elements are not conducive enough to convince the government to change their attitude. And maybe they will produce a difference in the ballot boxes, like the election in England, which will predict that Mr. Sunak would lose his majority and will fail due to his uneven support to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, on the long run, the public opinion will have an impact on government, and even in France too, they will predict that the coalition and Mr. Macron, the coalition of Mr. Macron, will fail in front of the socialists, which are a staunch supporter to the Palestinian cause and the far right.
Yeah.
So the change is coming, but it's a slow change due to the nature of the interaction between the street and government.
In addition to the public opinion, sir, Armenia was the last country to admit or to recognize an independent Palestinian state. And even Egypt or the Egyptian Foreign Ministry released a statement to thank Armenia for the move and to continue of asking the international powers or other influential states to follow suit. How do you see these recognitions from different countries, and if they can do something to end the bloodshed or to again put pressure on the Israeli occupation side?
The Armenian people, they faced themselves genocide, and they were part of the Middle East. You have a large Armenian community in Syria and in Lebanon itself that are part of the government, and you have a lot of Armenians living in Egypt. So the Armenians, after that genocide, have been hosted in many Middle Eastern countries, so they are a part of us, and they know the meaning of being persecuted, the meaning of a genocide. Mm-hmm. So, of course, the Armenian government have recognized the state of Palestine. It was a natural recognition, and I hope that the Armenian diaspora in the United States and in France will do the same and will follow suit their government, because they are very influential in the Congress and in the politics in France and other European countries.
Ambassador Mousharafa, of course, when it comes to what's going on the Israeli-Lebanese border, is another source of fear. When we speak about the expansion of the conflict, it's another danger, another threat, threatening the whole Middle East region. And I think tens of times our political leadership and our diplomacy warned of this. And to echo that, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that we cannot accept or tolerate to have Lebanon as another Gaza. This is going to be a war beyond imagination, God forbids. How do you see the future of this conflict? Is it going to proceed and to continue, or it's not, here there should be a stop, a serious stop from the international community to stop that?
Really, Mr. Gutierrez is very sensible, because you have a United Nations country in the south of Lebanon from many, many years, and this contingent is playing a very important role in calming the situation and monitoring the situation between Israel and Hezbollah in the south. But since the outset of the war in Gaza, Hezbollah is trying to alleviate the pressure on Hamas in Gaza. So the tension started between the two sides, and Israel daily is trying to assassinate the maximum leaders and of Hezbollah in the south. And up till now, they killed around 500 fighters of Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is, is making a tit-for-tat war, and they are bombing daily all the settlements in the Galil, inflicting some serious civilian and military casualty on the citizens of the Galilee. So, but up till now, the war is actually a contained war, or a contained hostility. The real fear that a big event or a bombardment would initiate a bigger war, so it will be a all-out war between Israel and Lebanon, which will
between Israel and Lebanon, or between Israel and Iran?
No, if the Israelis will start to go beyond the south of Lebanon and to go like they did it several times in 1982, and have a ground invasion, I will start bombing Beirut, all the south enclave in Beirut, which is stronghold of Hezbollah. Definitely, it will drag Lebanon and Hezbollah and Syria into the war, which would create a doomsday scenario. Because in Syria you have Russian forces, and you have other international players in Lebanon.
This is it. This is my question, sir. Should I consider Hezbollah, when we all the time read about Hezbollah, the Iran-backed group Hezbollah? When we talk about the Houthis, the Iran-backed militias of the Houthis in Yemen. So Iran is always there. And when it comes to Israel and to the background, we all know this means that the Houthis and Hezbollah are another side of the coin when it comes to Tehran, or they are here representing Yemen and they're representing Lebanon?
No, I think that the Shia militia in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon are the linchpins of Iran everywhere. And I think they are representing a minority in their country, but they are supported financially, militarily by Iran. So Iranians are, I would say, making 80% of the decisions. And they are defending the Iranian interests and the Iranian strategic political planner is, giving them orders in a way or another, or planning for their future action.
Sir, all this vicious circle can be cut if the mediators, and I'm going to name them, the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, succeed to convince both sides to agree whether to the proposed plan by American President Joe Biden or by the plans that they are going to introduce to both sides. Is it time to do so? Because there were some statements which were released from the Qatari side that the mediation talks are going to continue, or at least some attempts are going to take place in the very near future. How do you see these statements, or the timing of these statements?
Well, the Egyptian and the Qatari and the American are deploying efforts. The outset of the war from different plans. Egypt has presented a plan, Qatar has presented a plan, and lately the Americans. But the problem is the acceptance of this plan. The Israeli has a view that they want to finish Hamas militarily and politically and destroy all the military capability in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
And to release all the hostages. Hamas has another condition and another view. They want a total withdrawal of the Israeli from the Gaza Strip, and after that they will start to release all the hostages, and they want an international plan to implement any or to safeguard any peace plan acceptance. I do see that both of them have their own plans, and they do not want to reach a middle ground or to have a solution, because both of them, the continuation of the war is a way to exist.
But the thorny issue of the hostages, I think it's going to continue as, in my humble opinion, the most decisive pressure on Netanyahu. When you are going to find that the inside of Tel Aviv are all the time demonstrating and saying that this government or this administration, the cabinet of Netanyahu, they do not care about the lives of the hostages. This is going to continue as another kind of pressure, if you agree with me on that.
Yesterday you had 100,000 demonstrations in the middle of Tel Aviv. It's one of the biggest demonstrations ever happened in Israel. And the public opinion is mounting pressure on the government. But Netanyahu is still having 53 Knesset members, a very thin and majority in the Knesset, which permit him to continue to rule. And that's the name of the game. Because Netanyahu and his ally, the ultra-Orthodox party, they know very well that the day that this war is over, their government will collapse, and if they go to the ballot box, they will be defeated by the Israeli public opinion due to the mismanagement of the war and their,
Yeah, sir. Let's pray and cross our fingers that this day of ending the war is going to come that soon. We are not going to witness more martyrs falling and more bloodshed and more babies and children dying of malnutrition or dehydration. Well, we were very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Ayman Mousharafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.